Hi there, I'm Scott Lowe with Actual Tech Media, and thank you for joining us for this Discovery Series video. I'm joined today by Michael Howard, Head of Security Practice for HP. Michael, thank you for being here.
Thank you, it's my pleasure.
We want to talk about some myths and facts around multifunction printer devices. So one of the things I want to start with is, have you ever seen a multifunction printer be used as a staging area for an attack on a network?
Yes, I have.
That's unfortunate.
It is.
So this is a real thing that we have to be thinking about.
It is absolutely a real thing, and it's growing at a pretty phenomenal pace.
Tell me about the state of security in MFP world.
I tend to look at people and tell them that the printer is not the same printer that your mother and dad were using a few years ago. They become much more sophisticated. And what we've seen is as they become more sophisticated, the industry and the people that are using them have not seen that as something that they needed to secure and make sure they're watching out for. So it's kind of become the vendor's responsibilities to what are we building in to make sure that we're protecting and detecting correctly on the networks. And so that's what you'll see is a lot of what we're doing at HP especially is we're building security into the devices because we know that traditionally they're not something that's being monitored and managed in the right way.
What kind of standards are there around print and print security specifically?
Unfortunately, standards are still lacking. That's one thing that HP tries to drive, but we have always used the NIST standards, and we've followed very closely, even from the very beginning when we first put a network device on the network years ago. So it's a matter of understanding how you're putting them on the device and what are the capabilities of those devices, and understanding then how do you best secure those.
So from a security perspective, if you're comparing devices from multiple vendors, it's really important for a customer to be looking at pretty serious proofs of concept to make sure that all their features, but including security features, are included in the device.
Right, and I would say not just look at it at the features because everybody can lock a device down. It's a matter of looking at how do you build it into the rest of your security policies. In other words, is it proactive management? So you can lock a device down, but if something changes on that device, are you going to notice that it's changed and it's going to leave you open to a vulnerability? Are you monitoring and managing if something happens on your network so that you know that that's where it originated from and you can stop it right there?
One of the things that can be confusing for customers is different definitions between vendors, how they view things in the world.
Absolutely.
What are some of your experiences there, and what advice do you have for people who are looking at MFP specifically around what they should be looking at as far as when they compare vendors, especially around terminology?
Yeah, I think whenever you look at terminology, don't just look at the basics, right? So everybody, like I said, you can come in and you can secure points and protocols and turn those off. You can have built-in BIOS protection built in some vendors, but sometimes it's an add-on from another company that you have to add in. So what you're really looking for is a holistic approach. And when I take a holistic approach, it's work with a vendor that, number one, will help you assess your environment and then help you build a clear roadmap on what are the right devices to put on for the right business needs that you have, and then also be able to have that proactive monitoring and managing, making sure that it's integrating into a SIM tool, for example, so that you can see what's going on in your network. So it's really about taking a holistic approach on it and not just looking at features and functions, but how does the vendor put those on your network and understand what your security requirements are.
So one of the things in my conversations with HP that I've heard is that the phrase good enough is really not a great phrase. And in the context, it was someone saying something like, well, if this feature is good enough for so-and-so, it's definitely good enough for you. Why is that such a discouraged phrase inside HP?
Well, I think because whenever you look at what's good enough for one organization may not be good enough for another organization. Each organization needs to analyze what it is that they need to do for their business and then make sure that they're using the tools to make sure that they're addressing those. Mm-hmm. Just being able to say, you know, company XYZ over here was using this and that's good enough, so it should be for us, is not a true statement at all when it comes to security. Security must be implemented business by business and even within the business, organization by organization in those businesses. I
couldn't agree with you more on that. I've seen far too often where organizations say, because everybody else is doing this, we're going to do it too, and it doesn't make sense. We're going to be locked down tighter than the World Bank, you know, or something like that, and it's like, but you're a mom and pop, you know, candy store. Why are you doing this to yourself?
Exactly. Yeah, you have to really build it out what's right for your business, and sometimes you have to accept certain risk in a business, and other times you cannot accept that risk. So it's all business dependent.
So one of the things that HP can do is help people figure some of that stuff out through assessment services, correct?
Correct.
Can you tell us just briefly about those services?
Yeah, so we offer an assessment service where we come in and we evaluate just like you would any other endpoint that's on your network. In fact, we look at multiple endpoints, not just printers when we're doing it. But we're helping you understand, again, where are those devices at? Who's accessing those devices? Have you turned everything off appropriately, and are you monitoring and managing them right? But then really establishing a clear roadmap for how you move forward. What are your critical vulnerabilities that you need to take care of versus what are ones that you can put out a little bit, but you need to have them on a clear roadmap and understand where you're going.
One of the things that I've talked about with HP is this idea of self-healing. When something actually happens, an incident takes place, a security incident, you don't want to have to constantly jump into action. You want something to fix itself whenever you can. Right. Can you tell us about that a little bit? Yeah,
we do. With the cyber resilience that we built into all of our enterprise class devices, they actually, whenever they see an anomaly happen and it looks like it's a security event, they will reboot themselves and they will clean it up and bring themselves back to a clean state. At the same time, they're reporting that out to a SIM tool so that you can configure it if you have the correct way so that you know that that's happened. And then you can start watching for that anomalous behavior and see if that's going to reoccur again, and if you just had a one-time thing or if you have somebody attacking your network. The importance part is, though, is where you're really getting into the high-end compliance fines is the length that it takes you to get back up and running normally. So we built that into our devices to be able to self-clean them and get them ready to go, and then look at what the events were that were happening so you can minimize those.
So it minimizes downtime and maximizes security basically for the customer.
Absolutely.
Michael, thank you very much for this conversation.
You bet, my pleasure.
If people want to learn more about print security, where can they go?
Well, if they're already an existing HP customer, they can certainly reach out to their HP account executive that will help drive them where they need to. If they're not, go to reinventsecurity@hp.com, and we're always willing to help people and have conversations around anything they need to know about security.